Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? This time we're tackling dementia and specifically looking at a resource called The Reality of Dementia, a guide for men.
And it's a pretty fascinating look at how men experience dementia, both personally and as caregivers.
Yeah, right away it hits you with this myth-busting thing. You know what people say dementia is just a normal part of aging.
Right.
Well, this book's like, nope, it's a neurological disorder, not just getting older.
Exactly. It really emphasizes that this is a global health issue affecting millions and needs to be understood and managed properly.
And it goes deep into the whole diagnosis thing. You know, all the tests they do, blood work, cognitive assessments, brain imaging.
It really emphasizes that you need a thorough evaluation from a specialist.
Yeah, because they make this point about misdiagnosed, like sometimes delirium or depression can look like dementia.
Right, and those need different treatments altogether. So getting an accurate diagnosis is crucial.
It's like the book is saying, hey guys, don't freak out if your memory is acting up. Get checked out by a pro to figure out what's really going on.
It's about advocating for your health, really understanding that not every memory slip is dementia.
And the book doesn't stop at the medical stuff. It also talks about the emotional side of a dementia diagnosis.
Yeah, the feelings men often fear, anger, sadness, even a sense of loss.
It's like the book is giving men permission to feel those things.
Yeah.
You know, encouraging them to acknowledge and process them instead of just bottling them up.
Right, and it makes it clear that seeking help isn't a weakness. It's actually crucial for navigating this whole experience.
Yeah, the book encourages men to lean on loved ones, therapists, support groups. Like vulnerability is a strength in this situation.
Exactly. And speaking of support, the book talks about how more and more men are becoming caregivers for their loved ones with dementia.
And it challenges those old school gender roles, you know, showing how men can be amazing caregivers.
Reframes caregiving as this opportunity for men to use their strengths like problem solving and resilience.
They share stories of men who've done this successfully, giving advice and showing that sense of camaraderie.
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring.
One thing that really helped me was how the book gets into the practical stuff. You know, understanding medical needs, managing meds, setting up routines.
I like how they use real life examples. It makes the information more relatable and less overwhelming.
Yeah, like they talk about making a structured routine for medication, but also being flexible because life with dementia is unpredictable.
It's finding that balance between structure and adaptability.
Right. And it reminds us that problem solving is huge in caregiving. Those unexpected things pop up and you got to stay calm, find solutions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It empowers men to be effective caregivers.
You know, another thing that stood out was the focus on communication and social engagement for people with dementia. It says social interaction can help slow cognitive decline.
Yeah, the book gives practical tips for adapting those interactions to someone with dementia, simplifying language, breaking things down, making them feel comfortable.
It's like learning a new language to connect with our loved ones, even with those communication barriers.
That's a great way to put it. And it doesn't shy away from the challenges as dementia progresses, the agitation, confusion, repetitive behavior.
Those can be tough for everyone involved.
Yeah, but it gives techniques for dealing with them, like validation and distraction.
Validation is about acknowledging their feelings, even if their reality is distorted and distraction is shifting their focus to something positive.
Exactly. Those techniques can de-escalate situations and create a more peaceful environment.
It's like having a toolbox for handling the unpredictable nature of dementia.
Definitely. And one thing that really resonated with me was the book's emphasis on preserving the person's identity and sense of self.
Yes, it's a remembering that despite the changes, they are still the same person at their core.
Right. Dementia doesn't erase their history, personality, passion. The book stresses the importance of honoring that, respecting their dignity and choices, helping them find meaning.
It's adapting our approach, but still honoring who they are.
Exactly. There was this story about a man whose mom was always super independent. As her dementia progressed, he struggled with how much care to provide while still respecting her autonomy.
It's a common dilemma. And the book really emphasizes finding that balance.
Yeah.
You know, respecting their dignity and choices even as their abilities change. Recognizing they can still make decisions, express preferences, even if we don't agree.
It's empowering them to have some control in a situation where they often feel powerless.
Right. And reminding us that caregiving isn't about taking over. It's about partnering with them on this journey.
Absolutely. And one thing I appreciate is how the book talks about finding joy and connection along the way.
Yes. It encourages us to focus on what brings them pleasure, tapping into their passions, adapting activities to their abilities.
Like the example of a caregiver who introduced his father to indoor plants because he loved gardening.
Right. Finding creative solutions that spark joy and purpose.
And those moments of joy aren't just for them. They enrich our lives as caregivers too, reminding us that even amidst the challenges, there's still love, laughter, and connection.
And it's not just any activity, right? It's got to be something they actually enjoy something that gives them that sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. Like that example with the gardener and the indoor plants. It's all about adapting hobbies to their needs, being creative.
And those little adaptations can make a world of difference. Now, the book also talks about the tough stuff like the physical care that gets more important as dementia progresses.
Right. It talks about keeping them safe and comfortable as their abilities decline, like making changes at home to prevent falls, installing grab bars, getting rid of tripping hazards, good lighting.
Those simple things can make all the difference. And it talks about understanding those challenging behaviors, recognizing that they're part of the disease, not intentional.
So important. It encourages patience and empathy, remembering they're struggling with this illness. And it gives strategies for managing those behaviors like distraction and validation.
Right. Shifting their focus or acknowledging their feelings to help them feel heard.
Exactly. And as dementia progresses, things like bathing and dressing can get really tough. The book gives sensitive advice on how to approach those tasks with dignity and respect.
I like the part about breaking those tasks down into smaller steps. Makes it less overwhelming for everyone.
It's about finding those little ways to make everyday tasks less scary. And the book also covers nutrition and hydration, which can be tricky with dementia.
Yeah, it stresses good nutrition, but acknowledges the problems that come up, like changes in appetite, swallowing difficulties, even forgetting to eat.
They suggest trying different textures and flavors to find foods they like and can eat easily. Also, creating a calm mealtime atmosphere.
Those little things can make a big difference, like using a straw or making the food look appealing. And they share stories from other caregivers, which makes it feel more doable.
Those stories are so helpful. They give you hope and make you feel less alone.
Definitely. Another common issue the book covers is sleep disturbances, which are super common with dementia. It talks about the different things that cause them, changes in the brain, environmental factors like noise and temperature.
And I found the practical advice for making a good sleep environment really useful. Things like a consistent sleep routine, minimizing noise and light, making sure the temperature is comfortable.
It's amazing how those little changes can help. And the book talks about addressing the underlying causes of sleep problems too, like pain, discomfort, or medication side effects.
It's about looking at the whole picture and being proactive. And as dementia progresses, caregivers often have to make really difficult decisions.
Yeah, those are tough. The book talks about transitions to care facilities and end-of-life care. It emphasizes talking openly with family members, making sure everyone's needs are considered.
Getting advice from professionals like doctors and social workers to help navigate those choices.
It's about making those tough calls with compassion, understanding that there's no easy answer. And the book also focuses on advanced planning.
That's so important. Taking care of legal and financial stuff early on while they can still make decisions. It explains power of attorney, advanced healthcare directives, making sure their wishes are respected.
It's about taking control planning for the future, even with this unpredictable illness. And those documents can prevent confusion and conflicts later on.
Absolutely. And it gives you peace of mind knowing things are in order. And, one of the most powerful parts of the book is about faith and spirituality, coping with dementia.
It acknowledges that need for meaning and connection, especially during tough times. It explores how religious teachings and practices can offer comfort, purpose, a way to understand suffering.
It doesn't shy away from those tough questions that come up when faith meets dementia. It shares stories of people finding strength in their beliefs and highlights respecting the spiritual needs of the person with dementia, even if their beliefs are different from ours.
It's about creating a supportive environment regardless of anyone's background. And the book ends with this message of hope and resilience. It doesn't pretend dementia is easy, but it emphasizes that there's still room for joy, connection, a meaningful life.
It encourages us to focus on the present, cherish the little things, find ways to adapt and create new experiences. It reminds us that even with cognitive decline, they can still love, laugh, and be happy.
One of the most inspiring parts is about cultivating gratitude, appreciating the good things, even amidst the difficulty.
It's about shifting our perspective from what's lost to what we still have.
And the book emphasizes self-care for caregivers, recognizing how demanding it can be both physically and emotionally.
It encourages us to take time for ourselves, do things we enjoy, and seek support when we need it.
It reminds us that taking care of ourselves isn't selfish. It's essential to being good caregivers.
Right.
It's about recognizing our limits and putting our well-being first so we can be there for our loved ones in the best way possible.
Yeah.
It's not just about the basics, right? It's about making their life better.
Yeah, creating a space that feels good and helps them thrive.
The book talks about using music, aromatherapy, things like that to create a calming and stimulating environment.
Like familiar music, calming scents, even tactile things like soft blankets or textured objects.
Engaging their senses, creating a positive experience. And they also talk about bringing nature into their world.
Having plants around, access to a garden, even just pictures of nature.
It's about connecting them to that natural world, bringing a sense of peace.
Exactly. And you know, one thing that really struck me was how the book explores the emotional and spiritual side of dementia care.
Yeah, it acknowledges the impact on everyone involved, and it doesn't shy away from those tough emotions like grief and loss.
It encourages us to honor the person's life, celebrate their accomplishments, cherish those memories.
Finding meaning in the midst of loss, recognizing that even as their mind changes, who they are at their core remain.
That's so powerful. And there's this story about a man caring for his father with Alzheimer's. His dad's memory was gone, but his love and kindness were still there.
It reminds us that even as dementia progresses, those core parts of them can stay strong.
Absolutely. And the book encourages us to find ways to connect on a deeper level, appreciate the simple moments, find meaning in our caregiving journey.
Recognizing the power of love and compassion, finding those moments of grace.
It's beautiful. And you know, the book also talks about advocating for those living with dementia.
Being proactive, seeking information, resources, support.
Right. We have a voice, and we can use it to raise awareness, fight stigma, push for better care.
Empowering ourselves and our loved ones to face this with dignity and hope. And one thing I like is that this book doesn't pretend it has all the answers.
It acknowledges how complex dementia care is. There's no one solution for everyone.
It encourages patience, kindness, finding what works for each situation.
Embracing the journey with all its ups and downs and finding those moments that make it all worthwhile.
This book is truly a valuable resource for anyone dealing with dementia, whether personally or as a caregiver.
Absolutely. Packed with practical advice, emotional support, and a message of hope that really hits home.
And if you're looking for guidance on this journey, you can find The Reality of Dementia, a guide for men, on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books. It's a must-read for anyone who wants to understand and support those affected by dementia. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.